Alex here with a video on legal nuts and bolts. This video will be titled, Don't Make Assumptions. So, I'm going to have an example later on, but what this video is about is a lot of times, and this included me, especially early on in my case, something will happen in court, like the judge will enter an order, and it won't be favorable to you, or it won't be what you wanted, or it might have something in there that really irritates you or scares you. And you'll think that the judge doesn't like you. And I covered this a little bit in the video of the judge does not remember you. The judges are entering these orders they're looking at the order and whatever issues before them in a very specific way. Just because that order doesn't go your way doesn't mean they hate you and that later on they're going to rule against you. And this actually gets in so many people's ways because they just convince themselves that the judge doesn't like them because either something went against them or they didn't get what they wanted, and it scares them away. Or maybe their ex even wins on something and they don't want to bring up anything else because they're afraid of losing again, or they're afraid that the judge is going to get pissed off at their back when they've just lost. And on that same note, if you win, don't assume that the judge loves you, because if you this happens too. People will win a motion and then they just get like this elation and this cockiness, and then they just want to bring up the next thing that happens. They're just going to throw it at you and file a motion because the judge is on their side, and then they get hit hard with an order denying, or even sanctions maybe, and they're just like, what happened? This is so unfair. I thought everything was going my way. It's so hard to avoid this kind of thinking for people who aren't used to going to court. And this is one of the things that makes lawyers so good at their job, is because they know these little tiny details. So I did promise you an example, so I'll go ahead and give it to you. This example is somebody that I was helping with her child custody case. She had primary, physical, and either joint legal or sole legal custody, I don't remember. And her ex had his visitation rights suspended until he satisfied certain conditions. And he filed a motion after like a few years, I think maybe a year or two, where he was like, okay, I'm ready to get custody back. I want my my joint physical back and all this stuff. And she was freaking out because he had all these issues, and she was opposing it. And she filed an opposition, and I believe she filed it too late, like the deadline passed. And an order striking her opposition came out, and she just panicked and thought, she can't possibly win now. The judge hates her. And I'm like, seriously, he's the one that's moving, for relief. All you really have to do, I mean, it sucks that you lost your opposition because you tried to, raise all these affirmative, defenses and all that. And now you can't really bring him up in court, but you really have enough just by saying that he's not complying with the court's original requirements. So for the longest time, she was just down. She was down in the dumps. She was trying to find ways to get around the order striking. She was like, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that, maybe I can, explain this, maybe I can, file this and sort of apologize. And it's like, you're just so frantic. You think the judge hates you or wants you to lose, and you're just like, you need to explain yourself and show that this is not what you think it is. And I was just like, stay on track and argue what you need to argue at the hearing. And, after enough convincing, she went to the hearing, she brought her witnesses, and she won. So it's like, you can't let that thinking, mess with you, because if she would have just given up, if she would have just said, never mind, he hates me, the judge is going to rule against me, and just given up, that she wouldn't have gotten that outcome. So please, when you see a decision from the court, don't let it, it's going to demoralize you because you've lost, but don't let it scare you from continuing to seek out what's best for your kid. If you lost a motion on some kind of medical issue and now education is an issue, and it's a valid issue, bring it up, And the same thing, if you win a motion, like a motion for order to show cause and have your ex held in contempt, don't let that victory fill you with this just drunken cockiness, and next thing you know, you're trying to do something else in court and you get slammed. So just keep yourself as sober as you can about what's going on in that courtroom, because the judge does not remember you. It's one of my favorite phrases because I tell people that all the time. The judge does not remember you, and the next thing that you file or you come back with, they're not going to remember, oh, last time they did this and I hate them, so I'm going to deny this. Unless you've been in there like 6 to 8 years like I was, or you have some like high publicity case that's in the news, they're just not going to remember you. And as I mentioned last time, even if they do, they're not going to know the details. So with that, I'll go ahead and end this video. I hope it's helpful. If you have any questions about this, just go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Thanks. Bye.